Happy weekend to all. Welcome to the program that analyzes the week that was and helps position you for the week ahead. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Thanks for joining us. Hunter Biden indicted on gun charges as House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer ramps up the impeachment inquiry against President Biden, now targeting Hunter and James Biden's personal and business bank records, also planning for a first hearing sometime later this month. Democrats, however, are still denying that President Biden had any connection to his son's shady business deals.
This impeachment effort is a political effort. There is no evidence to back it up.
There is zero evidence of any malfeasance on the part of President Joe Biden.
President Biden didn't do anything wrong.
It is a three-ring circus. In ring one, shut down the government. Ring two, impeach President Biden. Ring three, jam your extreme right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people.
Joining me right now is House Freedom Caucus Chairman and member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Scott Perry. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us this weekend.
Great to see you, Maria. And I think you're playing clips of the recently sight impaired. They can't see the mountain of evidence right in front of them that the American people have been seeing for some time now and grows every single day.
Well, I want to talk about that, what you call a mountain of evidence, because you were part of this closed-door meeting with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy this week. Republicans laid out their case against the president. Tell me what that amount of evidence is. What did you hear? Where do things stand?
Well, where things stand are, what we heard is there's $20 million that moved from foreign entities and foreign individuals of ill repute into the Biden family. We've got literally dozens and dozens of suspicious activity reports for banking anomalies connected with the Bidens. We've got transmissions between the president and his son under a fictitious name. We've got the president showing up either in person or on the phone in board meetings with his son's business partners, and all that leads to corruption and influence peddling. There's been credible reports from FBI whistleblowers and informants regarding extortion and bribery on the behalf of the then Vice President, now President of the United States. Maria, this is all circumstantial evidence, but I would remind you that circumstantial evidence also would include fingerprints on, say, a murder weapon. So the impeachment inquiry is necessary for us to take the next step to either clear the president of these allegations or continue on the current track which we are on, which, just like I said, on a generally daily basis, as long as we can keep on getting more information, leads to more questions and more evidence mounting against the president in the form of corruption and influence peddling.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are talking about 20 shell companies that you have been able to unearth, 176 suspicious activity reports, which are reports about, coming from the Biden family banks. Why do you believe did they set up these 20 shell companies? And why was money going to the Biden family?
Well, you only set up 20 shell companies if you don't want somebody to find out where the money's going to or where the money's coming from. It's to hide money. It's to launder money, which is in itself a crime. And again, the question is, what was the product or the service that the $20 million was in exchange for? Crimes were committed here, Maria. The question is who committed the crimes?
Let me get your take on how you're battling this probe while also balancing this idea to keep the government open. I mean, you've got, 7, 8 days, working days left to keep the government funded before it runs out of money. What are the plans?
I think the plans are for the investigative committees to continue their investigations. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So we're going to do two things at once. The Appropriations Committee is going to continue to do its work. It's got 2 more bills to push out. We've got to get the policy right. We've got to get the number right. But we should just be rolling up our sleeves and be there every single day, every single hour, and until this is done. We can do it. Nobody said it was going to be easy. But as you know, Maria, the pressure cooker of time is a significant influence on getting things accomplished.
Well, the Democrats are saying your goal is to shut down the government and attack Joe Biden. Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, said that he's in favor of doing a very short-term continuing resolution to actually just get through this period to work on these appropriations bills. Will you do it?
That indeed might be the case, but we're not going to do a continuing resolution that just continues to fund the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer policies at the same level. So what we're discussing is a slight haircut for something like 30 days, and then some border policy, which will actually secure the border. As you know, again, this month, record numbers coming through the Darien Gap, coming up to the Mexico-Texas border and into our country. If the president and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi want to shut down the government over the border, well, that's going to be their business. But I think we're going to make a very strong stand that says the border must be secure. The American people support that. They demand that, and they don't want any more money wasted on allowing illegal fentanyl and illegal cartels to have operational control of our border.
Yeah, and that was one of the campaign. One of the appropriations bill's victories for the Republicans. You do fully fund the border security, consistent with H.R. 2. We're watching to see if that gets over the finish line. Before you go, Congressman, real quick, President Biden speaking out about the United Auto Workers strike. Watch this.
You know, I've been in touch with both parties since this began over the last few weeks and over the past decade. Auto companies have seen record profits, but those record profits have not been shared fairly, in my view, with those workers.
You may remember the president said back in Philadelphia right before Labor Day he didn't think a strike was going to happen, and now you've got 13,000 workers on the picket line against all three major automakers in 3 states. What's the impact here?
Well, how can a strike not happen? Under the president's policies, these folks, hardworking folks, you can't blame them. Their paychecks aren't paying the bills, not the electricity bill, the food bill, the gas bill. They need more money to pay the bills, and so they're asking for more. But the bottom line is that all of us are going to pay more for cars and trucks and vehicles because of it. It's all caused by the president's inflationary policies that is making general life for normal working people unaffordable.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for your insights this weekend.
Good to see you. God bless you.